Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 203. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another co-hosted episode with Joe Casey. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to find new ways of marketing our businesses online. We've been having kind of the similar conversations with a bunch of people about how disillusioned we are with the old school marketing techniques. And I've talked about this a little bit lately, but we decided to do an episode about it because I feel like this is a conversation that we all need to be having more often. If we're unhappy with something, in this case, online marketing, and online marketing techniques, then I think the more we talk about it, the easier it will be for us to find a new way forward. So some of the things that we're going to cover in this episode. First of all, we're going to talk about why there's a shift going on in certain parts of the online business community, about certain things not working. And we explore what's not working for some of us. We talk a little bit about why marketing can feel manipulative and sleazy, even though it doesn't always have to be that way. Why positioning yourself as an expert can be open to exploitation. That doesn't always work, especially when people are trained to position themselves as an expert when they really aren't. And yes, people do that. We also talk about why certain marketing techniques just don't feel good to some people, even if they work for other people. And we talk about how to find, how to get to the next phase or style of online marketing and what does that look like? So we explore some specific examples of people that we think are doing interesting things in the world of online marketing and some of the different ways that we think things can change and different ways that we can play around and do things. So if you've been displeased with the marketing world and unhappy with some of the stuff that you see people doing, and it seems like everyone's following the same exact formula and you don't like that formula, then I think you'll find today's episode very interesting. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Casey. It's lovely to be back, and I'm here with Holly Wharton. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about something that's inspired by a recent post that Holly wrote in her Facebook group. So both Holly and I have respective Facebook groups. Mine's called The Coaches Collective. Holly's is called Business Mindset Alchemists. You can find them by putting the search into Google or going to our respective site. And Holly had written a post just the other day, and it really struck a nerve with people. So I'm just going to read it out, or read out the beginning bit, and then that's where we're going to take it. So she says, "There's something I've been talking about with my friends lately, and I know that we need to make this a public conversation, but I'm still not sure what form to take." Podcast episode. The thing is, we still haven't really reached a conclusion. We're still kind of in the brainstorming phase, and I'm still not sure what to say. But here's the thing. I'm sick of traditional online marketing methods. Yes, they work. I'm so sick of everyone sounding exactly the same online. And I'm super ashamed that I've been guilty of it in the past, because I know that's how I learned online marketing too. And it works, right? So why not do it? But it's getting old. And in fact, I think all the crap expired long ago. And now it's starting to stink, and I'm sick of it. The question is, what can we do instead? And she goes on to say what she would like to see. There's, really good discussion issues on her group. And we thought this would actually be a great subject. So Holly, tell me a little bit about what inspired or prompted the post, because I know I'm on board with this. I agree with you. And a lot of other people responded in the same way. So tell me more.
Well, it's inspired by the fact that I realized that I've been having this exact same conversation with so many of my friends. I went on a walk with my friend Kathy last weekend. We spent hours talking about it. I was Skyping with another friend last week, was talking about it. Like, the same conversation keeps coming up over and over again. And then I think it was the same day that I posted that, the conversation came up in my Master Gut group. And so we were talking about it again, and we were like, we have got to talk about this. And so it was just all bubbling up inside me. And so I just it started out as a newsletter. I went to ConvertKit, opened it up, opened an email, and just went, and like vomited everything out into an email. And then I sent it to my list and I was like, okay, well, that's gone. And so then I kind of went back in, copied and pasted it, put it in my Facebook group, and then sat with that for a while, and then put it on my Facebook page and my Facebook profile, and then got it out there and started seeing how many other people feel the same. I got so many comments from people recommending people to look at and people to pay attention to, because that's the thing. We see so many people doing this old school online marketing that it's easy to find a million examples of people doing that, but I'm really struggling to find a lot of people who are doing something wildly different. And I don't just mean like a new spin on the old stuff, but like totally different. Like at the time I wrote that, I could think of one person, and that's Fabeku Fatunmishe, because I think he's just completely anti all the stuff that I'm sick of seeing. So he's a great example, but I couldn't think of anyone else. So I was asking people for examples, and a lot of people put people in there, some of whom I'm really not convinced they're really doing something different, but some of them are. So yeah, that was the inspiration.
I think it's really interesting. It does feel like there is a shift going on within certain parts of the online business community, and it seems to be coming from a number of different places. And I think it's always really interesting and always something to watch when the same conversations start happening in numerous different places. I think that's a real sign that there's something fundamental shifting. And so I think you're right. But how do we get to the next place then? So talk to me a little bit about what you feel is kind of going wrong with that kind of that online marketing, traditional online marketing, how we've been doing it for the past few years.
So I feel like it's very manipulative. I feel like it's playing with all the psychological stuff, which I think it gets results. Of course it does, because it's been studied and it's been crafted to get results. And that's great if that's all you want is to make sales. But I think if what you're wanting is to create a business that really feels good and gives you a deep connection with the people that you're working with and helps you sign on the right clients, your ideal clients, rather than just as many people as you can get, I'm not sure that those manipulative marketing tactics are what you want. Years ago, I trained in a sales technique for sales calls that was very heart-centered, and it worked. I mean, when I got people on discovery calls and I used this kind of formula with them, I had pretty much 95% like sign-up rate. And it was all designed to help the person get clear on whether I'm the right person for them and that kind of thing. So it was designed with good intentions, but it didn't feel right. And I've actually quit using it because it just doesn't feel right anymore. Because it is about building up the pain and then giving them the solution. And I just don't like that. I don't like tapping into people's pain. And I get that it works because it's getting them to find a solution, but it just doesn't feel right anymore.
No, I agree. There's a great, actually my coach, Kelly Deals, she has written a lot about this and breaks down a number of the tactics and the techniques that are used in that kind of traditional online marketing space, and explains kind of why they're manipulative and how they operate on our social triggers. I mean, there's a guy called Derek Halpern who actually, his business is called Social Triggers, and it's the idea of how we use the unconscious and how we are trained to respond as humans, and how you kind of deliberately manipulate those things so that people are more likely to buy from you. I think when you're first starting out, you kind of go, oh, okay, that's just how it works, and that's fairly benign. But when you dig into it, actually, it's not that benign. It's not. It's kind of sleazy and, like you say, manipulative. And so Kelly writes about this thing called the female lifestyle empowerment brand, and about how it works, particularly in brands that are targeted at women online. It's really interesting. We'll link to it in the show notes, but it's really interesting about how things like setting yourself up as an expert or authority, because people are more likely to respond to somebody with authority, even if you're not an expert in it. But so there's lots of stuff around how you make yourself appear like an expert, even if you're not an expert. No, I have no problem if somebody genuinely has done the work, is doing their thing, knows their stuff. But if we're veering into the area of code, if you read 7 books on this, then and you position yourself like this, then people are more likely to buy from you because they'll think that you're an expert in it, and you just have to position yourself that way. So that is very open to abuse. I'm not saying that the people originating it are necessarily coming from nefarious places, but it's very dodgy. It's certainly open to exploitation and abuse, I think.
Yeah, I agree. 123. And I completely agree with what you said about, I don't think that the people who invented these things had, negative intentions in mind. But then you read books like the Cialdini book, Persuasion, like that's the same kind of thing. Like you're persuading people. You're trying to get them to do your thing. That's manipulation. And it's just, it does not feel good to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what is interesting is that book has been used, so the book Influence has been used so many times by the big marketers, and it's referred to almost as if it's a Bible. And what I didn't realize is it was written to kind of expose these kind of hidden triggers that people use and exploit. It was written from really good intentions to kind of make people aware so they were less susceptible to it. But actually it's been taken and used as a kind, and here is the evidence, and almost like a 1-2-3 instructional manual as to how to manipulate people. And you're right, it doesn't feel good, it doesn't do good. And I think a lot of people are coming to the conclusion that if we're genuinely wanting to come from a heart-centered place, then it's incongruent to be using those shady manipulative tactics and techniques.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's also interesting what you said about the big influencers and the kind of the guru star profiles, because it is so easy to think that, especially if you're new in business, like they have the solution, they have the blueprint, they have the knowledge because it worked for them clearly, but what worked for them doesn't necessarily work for you. And I don't think it's very empowering to be using someone else's blueprint or system.
No, and I know we've referred to this before, but when I first started out, I hoovered up every piece of information I can find. I paid for courses, I bought the blueprints, and it took me a long while to realize that actually those blueprints worked for them because they had a unique set of circumstances, usually because they had a much bigger platform and audience established already. So you can have the smartest, say, email funnel in the world, but if you only have 30 people on your list, it's not going to, convert in it's not going to bring in those numbers. And then there is a kind of an ethical issue in there as well about what position do we want to be coming from? What do we believe in terms of letting people have all of the information they need so that they're making. I always go back to this idea of I want someone to make a really aligned decision. If it's to work with me, if it's a decision that's a no, that's coming from fear, then yes, I want to help them through that, to unpick that so that they can get to the place where they know they are making an aligned decision, not one just based from fear of I don't want to invest this money. So I'm happy kind of on that level. But if it's, I want people to kind of take a leap into the unknown and to kind of be pressured and feeling like they need to make a decision there and then they haven't got time to reflect on it. They haven't got time to, go away and do a gut check on it. Or then I personally don't want someone to be investing in me based on just the fact that I know how to push their triggers. And so have kind of put my hand on the scale.
Yeah, and I think we've all been on the other side of things as well. I mean, I've definitely signed up for things because I got sucked into someone else's sales pitch, selling from stage into some high price thing that I wanted to believe was going to fix all my problems, even though deep down I knew it wasn't right for me. But you get the fast action bonus and you get the discount and you get all this shit that you don't really need that triggers you into thinking, well, if I don't sign up now, I'm going to miss out on all this extra stuff.
Yes, exactly. I know one of the things that Fabeku is just vehement about is early bird bonuses and fast acting bonuses and things like that. And also, if I think of the amount of things that I've signed up for and the bonuses were actually crap. Yeah. But so you get into that state of almost, and I get all the bonuses as well. And when you're in a calmer, more grounded state, you look at those bonuses and just go, but I'm never going to use them. Or they're rubbish, or they're actually just somebody else's freebie that they've thrown in to, make a course seem better. And it's because a lot of the time those things are designed to get you out of that grounded state into like a fear state or a scarcity state. There are 6 hours left to sign up for this and I will miss out if I don't do it. And there are certain things happen with our brain when we're in that kind of a state. And there's been a lot of research into buying behaviors and what helps people to buy. Not necessarily about, well, is that a good thing? Are we kind of making people, manipulating people into buying this thing? I guess the marketers are only focused on the sale, get the sale. That's the bottom line, not building a relationship with that person, building a long-term customer and doing good in the world.
So the question is, we're all sick of this shit. Yeah. What can we do instead? Because we don't have enough models of people who are doing the things that we want to do. So it's like, it's so hard to get a vision. So again, I hate to mention his name again, but Fabeku, I love this guy. He talks about, as you said earlier, fast action bonuses. and discounting prices. And it's what he calls price fuckery. And I love that. That's like my new favorite business phrase because it's manipulative. So he has Rev-O-Rama or something that's his his main way of working one-to-one with people. That's your entry way of working with him one-to-one. It's $1,500. It's been $1,500 for I don't know how long. That was the price he originally started at. Yeah. And it's not changing because he's very aligned with that price. And he's sold out months in advance. So clearly that works to be in alignment. What other things can we be doing to build our business, to sign up clients in ways that don't involve manipulation and price fuckery?
For me, I mean, you have a great list on the things that you're wanting to see. And I'd love to go through those. Okay. And then I can tell you about kind of some of the things that I've been playing about with and have started to see some success with, but also just feel a lot better. And then maybe you can share what's going on for you. So you were talking about in your post about some of the things that you want to see and you want to hear. So I wonder if I could just kind of take you through what they were and you can maybe expand a little bit on them.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So again, and this is Holly's post. She says, what can we do instead? Here's what I want to see / hear. And the first one is openness, vulnerability, authenticity, but not as a marketing gimmick. I want to hear real stories by real people.
You know how people often tell like a really deep, inspiring story and then it like leads into an offer or a sales thing. And it's like you read through this whole thing, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, but it was so perfectly crafted to sell this thing. Yeah. So I want to see people like sharing great stories, connecting with people through sharing their stories, sharing their stuff, sharing the bright light side of business, sharing the dark side of business, sharing all the stuff, sharing a well-rounded, holistic, faceted, multi-viewed aspect of themselves and their business and who they are and how they help people so that they can connect with people. And of course, offering their stuff, but not that kind of gimmick of leading a story into an off, that kind of thing. So I do think that being open, being vulnerable, being authentic is a great way to connect with people and for people to get to know you.
I agree. And I also think that there is a need, a real need for people to have models of the reality of what it's like building and running a business. And that actually these kind of perfect presentations that we have of people with their perfect life in their perfect homes with their perfect hair, and this presentation of success being easy and quick and overnight. And it starts to do a number on people because we look at those things and we go, I am nothing like that. My life is nothing like theirs. Therefore, how can I possibly make this work? Or how can I possibly make improvements in my life or my business? Because I'm never going to be able to attain that stuff. It's like airbrushing in photos. We've started airbrushing our lives online. And I think there is a real danger in that it's doing a number on our collective self-esteem because we're all just feeling like failures. It's no longer that we all feel like we're fat and physically imperfect because that's been something that is part of our collective psyche for a long time now. It's like our lives are imperfect. And rather than that being seen as, but that's just what being a human is about, it's my life isn't perfect and there's something seriously wrong with that. And I think that's where we get into really dangerous, unhelpful territory. And I do think that it's starting to be a backlash with that because people are kind of looking at these people with their so-called perfect lives and kind of going, I don't think that person has anything to teach me because actually, yeah, I struggle with health conditions. I struggle with the fact that I'm not uber productive all the time. I'm not a skinny white woman. I don't have a beach house. I don't want a laptop lifestyle. And I would just like to be able to put my gifts out into the world and earn some money and be paid and be able to pay my bills. And I want someone who can teach me that rather than the whole kind of stood in front of a Ferrari type image. I think there's a big chunk of people just kind of turning off from that now.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's like it's so far out of their vision for themselves that they just can't relate to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we are becoming better or more attuned with our bullshit radar as well. We're better at sniffing it out because we're way more used to I think once you've been bitten a few times by oh my God, and that's so amazing and that's so, and now you're selling to me. Okay. And it feels so gross. It feels like somebody has kind of built up this real intimate rapport. And then I can remember really this at the time, I was really upset, but a friend of mine somebody I considered to be a friend, we were having a conversation at an event and I hadn't seen her in ages, and it was really lovely to see her. And I was asking about her new business. I knew that she'd kind of got into kind of health coaching and fitness, and she looked really great. And she was talking about how lovely it was. And she said, oh, we're going to be, because we live about 100-ish miles away from each other. And she said, oh, we're going to be up not far from you. Me, Anne, and she mentioned somebody else that I knew from a training course that we've both done. Why don't we meet up? Why don't you come along? And I went, oh, that'd be lovely. That'd be amazing. And I really naively thought we were going to meet for a coffee. Mm-hmm. And I turn up to the hotel, which should have been a red flag. And of course, it's an MLM event.
Oh my God.
And I'm ushered into this hall with like 300 other people, and it's like the Nuremberg Rally, and they're talking about their great products, and at the break there's all these shakes, and I felt so stupid and really kind of, oh, I thought we were friends, but actually you just wanted to sell me your latest shake, and it was horrible. And I think that type of thing, it happens more and more because that's how a lot of the MLM companies are teaching people to sell, but that also is happening with online businesses. So it's like if I'm reading on somebody's Facebook wall a really kind of intimate story when they're sharing something that's happened to them, and I'm with them, it's building up that rapport. And then when they then do that pivot and it's a link to their latest program, it's like, I feel like you've just manipulated my sympathies and it's like being taken advantage of, and a whole range of icky emotions around that. And it's just, oh, please just stop it, people. Just stop it.
Yeah, but I think there's such value in sharing kind of the first part of that and then cutting off the manipulation bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Build that rapport with me. Share those stories. Just don't then hit me with the and here's a link to my latest program, which will solve this exact thing, guys. It's really gross. I always try and come from a place of, people are doing the best that they can. And so I like to think that people aren't doing this as a deliberate manipulation tactic, but that's how it comes off. And that's what happens. So your next thing that you're wanting to see in here is people having real conversations about all aspects of business, not just the shiny stuff. So I think that's similar to what we've been talking about. But the last episode that you and I did together was called All About the Messy Middle, How to Thrive in the Messy Middle. And I have had so many messages and comments about that episode, about how refreshing it was, how reassuring it was, how appreciated it was. The fact that we share the fact that, it is messy sometimes. And some of that real side of what it's like to build a business.
I think people need to hear that because they're experiencing it, but they're not seeing people talking about it. So they think that they're the only ones experiencing it when we've all been.
Yeah, exactly. So the next thing that you say that you're wanting is people communicating the genuine value of their products and services, not inflating them and then discounting the price. Oh God, yeah.
Price fuckery.
Price fuckery. Yeah, exactly. And this also goes for this kind of false scarcity thing. So it's like if someone has a webinar and they're kind of doing the only 100 places available, and it's like, oh, please. If you're using any of the main webinar platforms, I know you can stream that to as many people within reason as you want. Stop trying to convince me that it's not like a physical room where there's only so many seats. If it's an evergreen product, but you have to have bought by midnight on such and such a date, then again, fuck off, because you can actually be selling that at any point. If it's a program that starts on a certain date, then okay, fine. But if you only have so many slots available in your calendar, that is genuine. But all this kind of manipulative scarcity or this will change your life type overblowing stuff, please just stop. So the next one that you're talking about is women stepping up as truly aligned leaders who walk their talk and share their full story, even the gritty bits. Oh, tell me more about that one.
Well, that's pretty much the same to the whole thing about communicating all the aspects of business, not just the shiny stuff. But women, I want to see more women online business leaders who are talking about the gritty stuff, not just the shiny stuff, not just the success. I want to hear how they got to where they are. People need to hear that story. And that's why that's pretty much the first question I I always ask on my podcast when I'm interviewing someone is, how did you start your business and how did you get to where you are today? And what's your background? How did this all come about? Because we need to hear that startup story.
We do. And I share this story so many times, but it still just gives me amazing comfort, is that Marie Forleo apparently had a job and ran her business as a side gig for the first 7 years of her business. And it gives me so much comfort, especially in the times when I was still having to be in the bridge job, and your head goes to that place of, oh God, if I was really good at this, if this is really meant to be what I was doing, I would be able to do this full time. And actually, no, the reality is it takes time to build an audience and clarify your message and get all the pieces in place and all of that stuff. So I think I absolutely 100% agree with you. The more of that stuff that we can share. And I think one of the things that holds us back, particularly as women, is that fear of judgment if we don't have it all together. Because I think one of the things that as women we feel a lot of pressure to be under is to present perfect and make it look effortless.
Yes.
And so people worry. I mean, this is a conversation that I have with my clients all the time, but how real should I be online if I don't kind of get the email out the door every single week on time? Then I feel really bad. But the fact is, my kid was sick this week, or my IBS really flared up and I had 2 days in bed. But actually, that's the reality of it.
And people need to hear that so that they can give themselves permission to spend the 2 days in bed and not feel guilty about it because you're taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And we really need to get away from this idea that because we are solo entrepreneurs, because we are our primary resource, that we are a primary resource that we just exploit to depletion. If you think of like old school idea of capitalism or manufacturing, is that you have a certain amount of original, whether it be iron or coal or something, and that we kind of we use that all up until the end. We use every last drop of it. And there's a danger that we bring that mindset into our own business, but you don't want to be using up every last drop of you. For most of us, we've come into a business because we don't want to be exhausted and experiencing burnout, which is what lies ahead of us in a traditional workplace. I started my business because I wanted to be able to have more of a balanced lifestyle. And yet it's really easy for me to get to the point of I'm exhausted because I'm working 12-hour days. And I have to be really vigilant about that. And part of that is about unlearning some of that stuff and being able to say, I have a chronic long-term health condition. I have 2 kids. I have a normal life. And I can't do 12-hour days, nor is that viable. So I have to find a way of doing it differently. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is helping people build sustainable businesses, by which I mean sustainable economically. You can sustain yourself, you can feed and clothe yourself and pay your rent, but also sustainable energetically. And I think in terms, now you would call it maybe soul, or we're into the woo side, but the term I use is kind of life force. That to me is kind of spirit and all of the things that make life rich and good and fill our well. I think we have to have businesses that are sustainable on all levels, and we can't do that unless we are able to take care of ourselves. And we can't fully take care of ourselves if we are thinking, I have to be perfect and I have to be on the go all of the time and I can't take time out and I can't care for myself properly when I need to be. Sorry, that was a bit of a mini rant there.
No, but I think that's important. Like, we need to hear that as many times as we need to hear it in order to start taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. And you say also unique individuals speaking their unfiltered truth. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So again, thinking of Fabeku when I wrote that, because he's like so not mainstream. Like, there's so much of his personality and everything that he does, and so much of his passions and so much of his unique stuff and unique opinions. So I want to see other people that stand out. I don't want to see any more of those cookie cutter women entrepreneurs who look exactly the same, who sound exactly the same. I just feel like there's so many women out there who just don't stand out from the crowd because they're all shining equally bright. Like, shine differently, shine a different color. Like, do let your quirks out online. Let us know what's different about, even if it's not pretty different,
Yeah, I mean, Baker is a unique character, and I think one of the reasons he stands out so much is because, I mean, he's quite flamboyant. He has feather boas, and he's really into fabulous shoes and talismans and magic and tattoos and huge amounts of love. He is just like built from love. He's amazing. But then we all are. And I feel like my experience of being in business, I know you and I have talked about this before, it's almost like you start to uncover the layers. You take off the layers of protection. You take off the layers of the shiny that you feel like you should be doing. So like, we've talked before about our original websites, and mine had me in a suit jacket doing that kind of side on smiling to the camera thing that I had seen a million other coaches doing. And it was really funny to me. Even now I kind of go, but I never even used to wear a suit jacket when I worked in an office. What was I thinking? It was like I was putting on a costume of what I thought a proper business owner looked like.
Yeah. Did you curl your hair too?
I had short hair at the time, but I would. Yeah, because at the moment I'm doing this project called 100 Chats about feminine conditioning, and so there is no other purpose to it other than I want to expand my connections with a wider number of people and talk about this thing that I'm kind of a bit obsessed about, which is this: how does our feminine conditioning, how does our experiences as women actually, and as men, because I really want to talk to men about it as well, of the messages that we're given when we're growing up and also as a society as a whole, where are those points of resistance when it comes to building our business? Because I know that for me, for many of the women that I talk to, the idea of not being perfect, the idea of being able to share an unpopular opinion, the idea of being loud and taking up space and what will people think of me, produces this real kind of tension. And a lot of the work that I do with people is about not just the strategic stuff, but then it's about, well, how do we unpick that stuff that kind of is keeping you held back? And a lot of it is around that stuff. Well, people think of me and I don't want to upset anyone and things like that. And one of the things that has come up a few times talking to people is the number of people who paid designers to have a website built and then realized that their website looked exactly the same as every other coach's website. And actually, do you remember there was a time when it's like every second coach's website you looked at was almost like a copy of Marie Forleo's? Either it would be the same colors when she was using, I can't remember which colors she was using, but it had like the little circles and the face in the circle and all of that. And I remember kind of thinking back to mine, and mine kind of looked like that as well. Because we were modeling what we are the rules. And I think we're in a time of saying, okay, we all need to be pioneers now.
Yes.
And
That's exactly it.
And say, how do we want this? Let's design it how we want it, because that old way isn't working.
Yes.
And it's scary exciting to be a pioneer.
But that's what we need to do to step out of this mold. Like, do what works for you. Play. Try different things out. See what works for you. Experiment.
Take a few risks and work through some of the stuff around, not everybody is going to like you. Can you handle that? Damn right you can. Of course you can handle that.
Yeah. But you've got to step out and make yourself like Marmite. Like, really express your true self so that people can either love you or be rejected by you. But I think the new style marketing that we need is all about connection rather than broadcasting and manipulation.
Absolutely. And so, I said I was going to share what the kind of direction I'm going in and what seems to be working for me at the moment. And I call it almost conversational marketing. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm just very deliberately having way more conversations with way more people and say, this is what I'm about. These are the issues that I think are the problem. This is the solution that I've kind of come up with. What do you think? Let's have a chat about it. And so I launched my last program by first of all going out and saying exactly that. These are the challenges that I think we have. So program's called the Supernova Collective. And I kind of had identified these kind of issues that I was working with lots of my clients. So you need strategy. You do need to know what are the steps to build that I need to do to build my business so that you're not trying to do everything, so that you can be really clear on what are the steps. But then you also need to be able to deal with the inevitable self stuff that comes up. So otherwise you'd be able to buy the blueprint and implement everything, but that's not how it works. So what is the stuff that stops you from doing the implementation stuff? So we have to do that personal work. But then also there's the thing of it's really easy to get isolated and stuck in your own head. And so we need to be doing this in community. And so that was the thing I set out. I'm putting together this program. These are the 3 issues issues that I think we need to be addressing: entrepreneur isolation, overwhelm and not knowing what the steps are to take, and being able to deal with your own resistance as it comes up so that you can overcome it and you can thrive. And I put out this invite to people and said, I want to talk to people and I want to get your ideas. And I spoke to about 20 people, and they all came up with things about that kind of confirmed a lot of what I was thinking, but also gave me new ideas as well. I then went away and put together the program, which felt like it was this beautiful co-created thing. Went back to those people and said, here's what we made, here's the end result, and then was able to share it with my wider community and say, if this is something that resonates with you, let's have a quick chat. And I had these blocks of 15-minute chats. The program sold out. It was the easiest and most enjoyable and most authentic and aligned program launch I've ever done. And so now I just think this is the way forward. It's about, let's talk to people. And I didn't have to do any of the, I think this will really help you, because it was more just, what questions have you got? What are you looking for? What are you struggling with? Let me tell you if this honestly will help you, or I think something else would be more appropriate. And it was lovely. And it just felt so different from the old way.
Because it was more collaborative. It wasn't,
yes,
I know this thing is right for you because I'm the guru. It's
exactly.
I've co-created this new thing with other people who are struggling with the same stuff you're struggling with.
Yeah.
Might this work for you?
Yeah.
It's coming from a very different place.
Yeah, very, very different. And so I think that I'm going to be doing it going forward. So I'm preparing to launch the next round of it. And I'm going to do a similar process. I'm going to throw the doors open and say, let's have a chat. Let's talk about, is this the right thing for you? What is it that you're wanting? And I'm also, in terms of expanding my audience and building my community, it's just all about making more one-on-one connections. And so that's why I'm doing this 100 chats, because I want to find out from people, what do you struggle with? I want to talk to as many people as possible to find that out. And then I can go away and see what kind of products or programs or things I could create to help people with that. So yeah, it just feels very different energetically.
It is. And the way you approach that is really important. So I was just having a chat with a friend yesterday, and I'm very aware of time. We've got overtime here. But I was just talking to a friend yesterday, and she was saying how she hates discovery calls. She doesn't want to offer them anymore because she hates that whole, marketing thing. If you get people into the discovery call, then you sell them onto your thing. But that's like, a discovery call is just a conversation with someone. But it depends on how you approach that discovery call. You were essentially doing discovery calls because you were having these conversations with people about exploring their shit. But you came at it from a very different place from the way we've been taught to come at discovery calls. So I think it's reframing our reasons for doing these things. They can work. They can work in a new way. They can work in a heart-centered way. They don't have to be, the old style marketing way. Yeah. You can do the same things, but differently.
Yeah. And if you're coming at it from a place of, actually, I feel confident that I have some skills and tools and some knowledge that will help the right people, then you're also not coming from that kind of, I don't really want to do this. And so you don't then have to do the overblown thing. I have to oversell it. You're not coming from a kind of underpower place, that kind of needy place. And you're not coming from an arrogant place either. You're able to come at it from a very equal place. And you kind of, I'm presenting what I think is a really great program. It will help you because of this, this, and this, and this. How does that sound? And you don't then have to do any hard sell, because if it's not right for them and it's an aligned no, then that is the right decision for everyone. But I have to say, it has taken a number of years to get to that position of kind of going, I'm confident enough in my abilities to be able to not come from that needy place. It's an evolution, but it comes from, I think, chipping away at it and doing the small steps, but doing them every day. Stepping out, becoming more and more of you, and taking off those layers of armor and the costumes that we're wearing, and doing the things that we think we should be doing, asking the pointless questions on Facebook. Really, there seems to be a slew of them on my Facebook wall at the moment, but actually just coming up and sharing our stories and making those connections.
All about connection.
It is conversational marketing. I'm going to trademark it. It's the future.
Well, I think that was a very useful conversation.
I hope so. I really do. I think we're in the early stages of a new movement within online marketing, and that's exciting. And we all get pioneers, and that is also exciting and a bit scary. But, if we do it together, if we do it collectively, if we do it in community, then it's a lot less scary.
It's exciting.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to say or comment about this, then please please do let us know. You can contact me at joe@joecasey.com.
Holly at hollywharton.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can also find Facebook groups. So Holly has the Business Mindset Alchemists group, and you can find that link either just search it on Facebook or go to her site, hollywharton.com. And you can find mine, which is called the Coaches Collective. Again, just search it on Facebook or go to my site, joecasey.com. And we will speak to you soon.
Thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/203 for the show notes on this episode.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.